I've discovered the secret, Henry. Hot ice.
Hi, everybody. How y'all doing? Well, today I'm here in the studio with the Nerdporeal Lifeform, and welcome to Hot Takes from the Ice House. Well, first off, I just want to thank you for coming on the show, and this is my first interview.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. You've been a long supporter of Nerdporeal for a while, so I figure, give a brother a hand, or brother Penguin a hand.
Yeah, I use flippers, but I get the gist of what you're saying. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool. Yeah, in all this talk of sharing fandoms and friendoms, I will say, I'll plug this guy and say, he's one of the first guys who got me on stream, and I wasn't showing my Penguin form yet, but he inspired me to, get where I am today. So that's another reason why I wanted to have him on. Was my inaugural hot take from the Ice House. So
I really appreciate it.
Well, let's just jump into it. So, well, your name kind of gives it away that you're probably a fan of a few IPs and fandoms that have been around for a while.
Yeah, I mean, once again, I went for a walk. I was considering starting my own channel for a while. Been watching quite a bit of YouTube. I was very late to the game. So like when YouTube first came out, 2007, 2008, I thought it was all cringe. All the channels were cringe, in my opinion. I was just like, I'm not. This is crap. I'm not going to watch it. But then I started wanting to connect with other fans of different things because I've always been isolated. I always been isolated from other fans of things that I really loved. So I kind of wanted to start, just reaching out. I just wanted to start, finding new ways to make friends. And I figure online was the best. And I was skeptical of online stuff at first, but yeah, I learned, and it's all history. I started the channel, Nerdporeal, basically a figure with all the symbols of all the franchises I like.
So you're the hero we need, not the one we deserve.
No comment.
Well, at least, fair enough. Fair enough. That's something a hero would say. All right. So I guess for anybody out there who hasn't been paying attention to the stuff going on in the last year or so, is there any some of your favorite fandoms that you want to kind of briefly touch on? Some stuff you like. I mean, I've heard you like some ships in space and some science in space type shows, and maybe some wizardry from some time ago. I don't know.
Well, I am a big Star Trek fan. Been a Star Trek fan since I was a kid. That was a follow-up of me liking Star Wars, seeing Star Wars, the original trilogy. And so I wanted to find other science fiction to watch and get into. So I watched Star Trek movies, really enjoyed those. Got into the original series, took me a while, but I got into TNG eventually. And the other shows all came out on DVD when I was in college. And I just started watching them all. Voyager I watched as it aired when I was a kid. So yeah, there was a lot of great stuff. I learned quite a bit from watching Star Trek. It made me understand and really made me really respect the classics, all the classic literature, all the classic themes, food for thought, stuff that made you want to be a better person, because that's what Star Trek was. Star Trek was about seeing good characters going out into space, learning stuff while also, dealing with morally ambiguous things where they were the moral center, where they resolve stuff in a moral way. And that was something I always liked about it. The characters were all likable, they're all lovable. And when there needed to be action, there was action. But a lot of the times they didn't need to, use force. There was an episode where Kirk is fighting a Gorn creature in the original series. He spares the Gorn's life because he heard the Gorn side of the story. Even though the Gorn destroyed an outpost, the Gorn thought they were being invaded. So we decided to spare the captain of the Gorn ship, which impressed these higher beings that were running this little arena, the name of the episode. And, well, that's pretty much where I started really liking the morals that Star Trek was built off of. But then the most recent stuff.
Yeah, but before you jump into that a little bit, I just want to say I think you made a really good point. How some of the older Trek, and I remember this too, watching some of that they really did pull from the classics, the literature. You know, the captains would have some sort of instrument that takes time and patience and effort to learn, and so there was all this, like I said, a focus on classic literature. So when you're watching all these sci-fi things, you want to learn about, actually real literature that exists in the real world too.
It's about the human. It's learning about ourselves. It's about learning about the human condition. I mean, there's a lot of episodes that take their names from Shakespeare. I mean, the recent episode that I was discussing with Gray, Wakizashi's Tea House, was an episode called Dagger of the Mind, and that was taken. That line, that title was taken from a passage from the Shakespeare play Macbeth. Wow. Where King Duncan is about to murder, or where Macbeth is about to murder King Duncan, or is plotting to murder King Duncan in his house or in his castle.
That's I don't think I knew all that. I'm not.
I just learned that myself not too long ago.
I was gonna say I'm not as big of a Trekkie as some of you guys, but I really appreciate all the stuff that you guys bring to the table in your discussions. Because I probably won't watch it all. I mean, because there's so much to watch, and so many fandoms out there.
That's if you want my recommendation with Star Trek, start with the original series. Start with the very first season. It's my favorite season of all of Star Trek to this day.
So OG, go check it out if you haven't.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a great recommendation. So let's see. There's a couple things I want to touch on these hot takes. Is, well, the first question that I really want to bring up is, let me check my notes. Yeah, okay. Let's see. Can you think of a moment where, say, a friend or family member shared with you a piece of art or some show or something that, because of their passion for this work, that you were caught up in the excitement and then fell down the rabbit hole with them for just getting excited and losing track of all time and space and reality and becoming a fan forever?
Well, I mean, for me, the one that I want to talk about is, I'm friends with Prophet the Dragon, White Cloaks, Pips and Alex mainly, Man of Manethrin, Salty Traveling Sea. Yeah, a bunch of other people are passionate fans of the Wheel of Time. And Wheel of Time had its own, non-adaptation by Amazon. They had a lot of anger. They had a lot of anger and frustration towards the series. And I was doing House of the Dragon with them for last fall. And I started following their content, and they all talked about the Wheel of Time. And I read the Wheel of Time, read the first book years ago. I didn't quite want to continue it because it was very different from another series I read, Song of Ice and Fire, Game of Thrones. Very different series. So I stopped. But I was thinking about getting back into Wheel of Time because they were all super into it. They were all super disappointed in what Amazon pretty much gave. And I saw the series. It's probably the worst series I've ever seen. I've seen New Trek. Wow. So I started reading Wheel of Time. I was sick of Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones didn't end well. I am not convinced that Winds of Winter, the sixth book in the Song of Ice and Fire, is ever going to come out. Whereas Wheel of Time is complete, even though the author passed away when he was still writing his books. So he managed to write enough notes to give it to someone else to finish the series after he passes. So, which is unfortunate. They didn't get to live to see his series complete, but that's life. Yeah. But Man of Manethrin, Prophet, and Pips of the White Cloaks, those three in particular, were the ones that really cheered me on, saying, yes, this is a great series. We'd love to talk with you if you ever, decide to read it. And because of that, I reread the first book, actually enjoyed it way more the second time. and got more out of it and kind of understood why they liked it. Even though Robert Jordan, the author, is known for insane amounts of purple prose, which I'll be honest, kind of puts me to sleep sometimes. But the characters that were written are they're written really well, to the point where you like these characters. And what the show did is just inexcusable.
So what you're saying is you tried to like it, and you just were like, it's not for me, put it down for years, and all of a sudden, all these friends you have are talking about getting all the hype, and because of their excitement and fandoms, that bled over into you, and you could be able to see it through their eyes and appreciate it in a way that you never would have necessarily on your own.
Yeah, and that and A Song of Ice and Fire kind of weird off on me because of Game of Thrones season 8. So I kind of put that to rest. I still prefer the Song of Ice and Fire series, to be honest. I mean, that third book is a roller coaster ride, but I'm on the third book now. I'm in the middle of the third book now. So I don't plan on stopping.
I'm going to say this. I watched the first episode of Game of Thrones and I haven't read the books, but I will say this, as a penguin, I always know that winter is coming.
Yeah. Now the question is, will winter ever come for George R. R. Martin and his book fans?
Well, maybe this is...
I don't want to depress people.
Yeah. But anyway, so, I want to ask, and thank you for sharing that. I want to ask, conversely, on the other side of that question, is can you think of a moment when you discovered a show or some sort of piece of work that you were so excited about that you decided that you had somebody that you had in mind that they needed to know about this, and because you knew that they would appreciate it and understand it, and if you could explain it to them through your own eyes, that they would also fall down the rabbit hole and be forever changed by this IP?
Well, throughout the years, all the friends that I've made that I've been close friends with, I introduced them to Star Trek. I mean, I'm the one that got them to watch. I mean, friends that I didn't think would ever watch Star Trek, because of the fact that I talked about it quite a bit, they actually eventually watched it. My brother watches Star Trek because of me. All my friends that I've hung out with ever since college have watched Star Trek in some form or another. So they're very familiar with it. Heck, I've even gotten the same guys I'm doing Wheel of Time with. I got them and a bunch of other people watch Picard season 3.
Wow.
But that didn't quite end. Let's just say that one didn't end well, so I won't get into that. But yeah, I mean, I've got, and there's other stuff that there's anime that I've talked with some people, like Legend of Galactic Heroes. I got DJ Ronnie G to watch that. He is grateful that I have introduced him to that. Another person recently watched Monster, another anime that's currently on Netflix. It's an excellent series if you like a good psychological thriller. With great characters and 74 episodes, but it's crazy. Okay. It's crazy good. So I like to recommend things. The question is, will people listen? Sometimes they do. Sometimes they don't. That's life.
Yeah. But and by the way, this is Hot Takes from the Ice House. So if you want to heat things up, we got plenty of ice in the background to cool things down. But it is, I think, one of the things you've touched on, and I think it's one of the things that I'm really kind of wanting to talk and highlight on this whole thing, is the point of, sharing these things with other people. And like, I can understand if you're the guy who's been telling everybody about Star Trek, just why you're so passionate and upset that this thing that you've been telling people the joys of and the wonders of for years, now you're getting disenfranchised with the franchise. I mean, I get why you're a little hot under the collar.
Yeah, excuse me. Especially with the latest series. I mean, it's just it's like the writers, like early Trek there used to be like the writers were, there's still a lot of, I don't want to go political here, but Star Trek's always been progressive, equality of, people based on, all the attributes that make up a person, at least all the shell attributes. What early Trek did well was there was deeper attributes, deeper diversity, that really made it interesting. Diversity of ideas, you know, because, you know, you're going to encounter aliens, and aliens are not going to necessarily believe what you believe. And you can't superimpose your beliefs, even morally, on these aliens. I mean, you got to do your best to just deal with them. I mean, some aliens have, you know, better codes than others. I mean, there was a Star Trek TNG episode where once you turn there was an alien race, humanoid alien race. Once you turn 60, you're supposed to die. That's part of their culture. And the thing is, Star Trek has this thing called the Prime Directive, where you're not allowed to interfere with, you know, the workings of a civilization. So they had to comply. I mean, one of the characters objected to this one guest character, 60 years old, had to go beam down to his family to die, because that was their culture. It was a great episode. It was a sad episode, but it was a great episode. And now with newer Trek, it's like everything is like there's none of that. It's very one-sided. Heck, they even had a politician guest star, a politician who was very divisive. Let's just say this politician's from Georgia, and I won't say any more than that. And the actors, I mean, because of social media, the actors have been showing their true colors. Showrunners, all people that used to work on TNG and DS9 back in the day, have all been showing their true colors. And it's been, you know, you would think the people that worked on Star Trek would be the most open-minded people, but they're not. They're not at all. So that's been a bit of a bummer. And
I got a question for you, because you bring it up. So basically, the show's so divisive, but you're saying that the recent episodes have been so divisive, and the actors have been so divisive, and yet in how the response of this episodes have been so divisive, yet the show itself and the core values that it taught you don't sound like that's the message that it was teaching at all.
In the newer stuff.
I mean, the old stuff.
Well, the older stuff was every episode had a story, and not all the stories were great. Some of them were not as good, but there was always something to take away from it. There was always something to learn. There was always something to be entertained about. Majority of the stuff usually paid off, and there was always they always built the characters up well. The characters were likable. Now with newer Trek, it's just fundamentally different. It's like they never watched the earlier shows. They don't even know how the earlier shows were even written or the ideas that went into them. I mean, like the latest season of Picard was praised by almost every major content creator that is in that, you know, that's been pretty critical of everything else. Mandalorian, everything. Currently Cleopatra. And I'm watching it because of the praise that it's been getting from a lot of these content creators. And you know what? It's slightly better, but it's still horribly written, and it doesn't deserve the praise that it's getting. It's like you have to turn off your brain in order to enjoy it. There's no ideas. The characters are not likable. Things don't feel earned. And heck, I mean, if it was its own franchise, and if it didn't depend on nostalgia and earlier shows, it could have worked by itself. But you know what? It didn't, because things were established in the earlier shows that this current show just doesn't make sense.
Okay, well, there's a hot take right there. I really appreciate you being here, and we're about to wrap up on our time, but was there anything else you wanted to say to our audience, or plug anything that you've got coming up in the works here soon?
Yeah, I mean, once again, big Nintendo guy. The other big things that I really love to tell people about is Mario and Zelda, and currently my retrospective I'm working on is Metroid, the first game, or the first mission. So it covers the NES game and the remake for Game Boy Advance, the Zero Mission. So that's what I'm going to be working on. That's what I'm working on now. So stay tuned for that. I want to get it done this week. And but yeah, like the newest Zelda came out. Another hot take I have is Breath of the Wild is my least favorite in the entire Zelda series, and that's a very hot take because everybody loves Breath of the Wild. Everybody loves the the new format for Zelda. They don't care about the older conventions that made Zelda great, like getting treasures and dungeons and having dungeons in the first place, and having secrets that were varied throughout the world.
I like dungeon crawling, but
I
maybe that's
do.
something else. But yeah. So, guys, I just want to say, well, I really appreciate you being here, Mr. Nerdporeal, and I really appreciate you encouraging all of us to stay Nerdporeal and to keep chasing the nerddoms and the fandoms that we love and sharing it out. So, guys, check out the Nerdporeal channels and his retrospectives and his horror reviews. And I didn't really talk about it, but I don't like horror, but I still like this guy. So definitely go check him out. And thanks all for being here. And if you guys have any thoughts or questions or responses, just put them ahead in the comments. And we'll see you later. Bye.
Stay Nerdporeal.
And waddle. Howdy, everybody. Have you ever felt like a lone bastion of justice amidst the wasteland? Now you don't have to be alone. You can carry this Sheriff Penguin with you anywhere you go. That's right, I'm talking about the new Punkwaddle clothing line collection exclusively from Under a Rock. Check it out in the description below. And, see you around. Bye!